So recently, the Food and Drug Administration declared teen vaping an epidemic, stating that nearly 21% of high school students vaped last year. A former FDA commissioner blamed this teen vaping epidemic on Juul, which is an e-cigarette company. And when asked what he would say to a parent whose child is addicted to Juul, the CEO, Kevin Burns, said, "First of all, I tell them that I'm sorry that their child's using the product. It's not intended for them. I hope there was nothing that we did that made it appealing to them. As a parent of a 16-year-old, I'm sorry for them. I have empathy for them in terms of the challenges that they're going through." So those are very, very lovely words, but Juul's critics point to the company's initial advertising campaign, which featured bright colors, young models, and they say that these advertisements encouraged teens to vape because it looked cool and exciting. And the co-founder of Juul, Adam Bowen, said in retrospect that the ads were inappropriate. So the company has tried to combat teen vaping by shutting down its social media accounts and pulling fruity flavors like cream and mango from retailers. So I was very conflicted when I read that the CEO apologized for this. One, I think it's hypocritical that he says he hopes that there was nothing that they did to encourage teen vaping.
Clearly they knew.
They knew. And also, I'm just so shocked that teens are vaping, considering the amount of research about the adverse effects of nicotine. And while we don't know the long-term effects of vaping, I think the average reasonable person would assume that there are some negative effects.
Well, sorry. As someone, I'm familiar with the science that smoking is terrible for you, but I have a friend who is an adult, but was switching to vaping. And I don't know if this is PR, if this is true, if this is false. I'm assuming it's false. They're like, no, because it's not smoke, because it's vapor, it is not bad for you in all the ways cigarettes are. And he would say, there's no studies that vaping's bad for you. Now, I take that with a huge grain of salt, but go ahead, yeah.
There's probably no studies that vaping is good for you either. And we don't have any studies that show what is the effect on one's lungs, throat, tongue. So I think there are two sides to this story that are baffling. One, that teens are vaping, knowing the risks. And the second is that an organization, I know that a lot of companies are hypocritical. I know that they're doing this. But when it comes to tobacco companies and anybody who sells nicotine products, I always give them a heavy dose of side eye. In a former role, I spoke with an executive at a tobacco organization, and these people were cold-blooded. They knew exactly what they were doing. They know that they're targeting young people. They know. And so when I was having this conversation with them, they basically had no remorse. They said, well, it's not up to us. We can sell a product, and if people want to buy it, they can buy it, and that's their choice, which is true. However, I think it's just absurd that Juul now says, I hope that we didn't do anything.
Okay.
Good.
More to what you're saying about how ruthless they are. How cynical do you think this gets? Because part of me thinks that the apology was part of the plan in that, all right, we have a 5-year plan. For 2 years, we market mercilessly to teens. Then eventually it hits some sort of inflection point where people start getting mad about it. Then we apologize and essentially cash out, and then
they've already reached.
They've already got them. And they're already hooked.
And those original teens are now adults, and they're fine. And now, yeah. So I've heard this phrase over and over again, and I'm convinced almost anyone who says this is a sociopath. But I hear it a lot from important business people. The phrase, "It is better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission." I've heard it so many times in the business world in different contexts, but I am nearly positive in my head canon, that at some point someone in some meeting said, "Hey, do you think this is marketing to kids?" And the response was, "It's better to ask forgiveness than ask permission." Because oftentimes, whether it's Uber, exploiting their drivers, or Amazon mistreating their warehouse, they always say, what is the profitable thing to do? Will people get angry? Well, we'll ask for, it is part of the business model to ask for forgiveness. So I don't buy. Yeah, I don't buy it at all. Or like I buy it as part of the strategy, kind of to Jared's point.
I agree. I think that this was probably well rehearsed beforehand, and this was part of a long-term plan.
Especially since this exact same thing happened with actual cigarettes. So they're just like, fuck it, we'll do it again.
Yeah, because all those people are dead. They can't probably remember what we did back in the day.
I mean, apologies in general, I think, in the public setting are mostly bullshit.
Yeah. There's that South Park with BP. We're sorry. We're sorry. We should have had that clip, but
I think I've never had a marketing job, but running a YouTube channel in which, we make all of our money from advertising, the only way we're able to stay alive is advertising. I have met with other marketing teams. And in a couple situations, and I'm not going to name people, it seemed I was like the one raising their hand and saying, okay. So, for example, there was a brand that was a cereal brand that was looking to make a big spend on YouTube. And this particular cereal was one of the cereals that had a ton of sugar in it. And the ad rep, who was somebody that I was relatively familiar with, I know that they had just had a kid, and they said, so this brand wants to put on a ad campaign that promotes the cereal as healthy.
yeah.
And they want to use the healthy terminology, healthy this, healthy that. And I just said, and there was like probably 6 or 7 people in this room, and I just had to raise my hand and say, right, but it's not. Like, you just had a kid. You're telling me that you would feed this to your kid?
I was in one of these meetings, and I also think there were euphemisms. It might have not even been healthy. It had been like part of a healthy diet in the way that, yeah, I guess if you're having a candy bar once a week, you could still have a healthy diet. But so they're either making the false claim or just making extremely misleading claims.
Well, and this person just basically recovered with a bunch of business speak that softened the claim but still was asserting the claim, and they basically just said, okay, I guess Wisecrack's not the right brand for this.
Yeah. Man, we have so many interesting meetings about and with advertisers that we cannot share.
Yeah.